Welcome to Unews on Thursday, July 11th. I'm Maity Interiano filling in for Carolina Saraza. We begin today tracking Tropical Storm Barry, the first major tropical storm system expected to hit the U.S. this year. Right now, they are already starting to feel the effects of the Tropical Storm Barry, and they are preparing for the worst. And the storm's maximum sustained winds are already near the 40 miles per hour, and they're expected to strengthen in the next day or two. A tropical storm warning is now in effect for the Louisiana coast and from the mouth of the Pearl River to Morgan City. South Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and western Florida panhandle will be drenched today, and Barry could grow into a Category 1 hurricane by late Friday. The storm is expected to make landfall along Louisiana and the upper Texas coast on Saturday. We'll stay tuned for more of this news. And speaking of Texas, residents and officials in Houston are gearing up for what could be a huge amounts of rain caused by Tropical Storm Barry. Angie Sandoval has the latest. Important to be prepared, have non-perishable goods, cash, batteries, gas, and most importantly, be alert of any warnings that you might have by government officials. But now, let's turn into the growing scandal involving disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, who faces charges for trafficking minors. As he remains behind bars, Labor Secretary Alexandra Acosta is defending his decision to offer Epstein a plea deal more than a decade ago. Meanwhile, as Andrea Linares explains, the White House is standing by Acosta.
The Miami Herald reported in 2018 that it had identified about 80 women who say they were molested or sexually abused between 2001 and 2006. Now, the newspaper continued reporting on Epstein and his plea deal, and all this caught the attention of federal prosecutors in New York, who then brought the new charges against him. We are also learning more about the alleged victims mentioned in that indictment. One of them was just a middle schooler when she was allegedly abused in Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. Another woman claims that when she was just a teen, Epstein groomed her for abuse by promising to help her get into college. Maity, now back to you.
Unbelievable. Thank you, Andrea. And in other news, a growing problem for the White House. The Senate Armed Service Committee was briefed this morning on an allegation of sexual misconduct and the House Judiciary Committee has voted to give Chairman Jerrold Nadler permission to issue subpoenas for now Special Counsel Robert Mueller's final report. Nadler has not yet said if he'll issue the subpoenas. House Democrats had given Attorney General William Barr until Tuesday to produce the full reports to Congress. The vote further escalates the Democrats' battle with the Justice Department over how much of the report they will be able to see, a fight that could eventually end up in court. Now, to an update of the story we first told you about earlier this week, a serious IVF mix-up. The couple at the center of that mix-up is now suing after they say a total stranger unexpectedly gave birth to their child. Along with someone else's, Paola Byron has the story. And after the break, new numbers are showcased. On Wednesday, immigration officials said that a nationwide sweep to deport people living in the United States illegally is absolutely going to happen. Approximately 1 million people could be targeted in 10 cities, and New York City is on that list. Here to speak with us about this, Democratic representative from New York, Adriano Espaillat, whose district is heavily Latino. Thank you for joining us, U.S. Congressman. And what are you telling your constituents in regards to these raids? In regards to the 2020 census, President Trump is on the verge of using his executive action to insert the citizenship question into the 2020 census. What is your reaction? Only visited Dominican Republic after at least 9 American tourists died this year. What are the steps the officials on the island are taking to ensure the safety of tourists out there? And a mother is asking for justice for the death of her daughter who died last year after they were both detained by a Border Patrol facility, Lorraine Cassidy explains.
Says that while they were at the detention center, Border Patrol agents failed to provide her daughter with the urgent medical care she needed, and that's why she died. Now she is suing the company that manages that detention facility for $60 million. Yasmin's testimony was so emotional that it brought Representative Ocasio-Cortez to tears. Today, Senator Schumer is expected to introduce a Senate bill to stop cruelty against migrant children. One of the intentions is to stop private contracts with these facilities. Tossing it back to you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Meanwhile, in Mexico, the government is implementing a new program called Plan Juarez to help migrants who are waiting for their asylum claims to be processed by the U.S. The plan seeks to provide jobs and shelters to thousands. Now, as Josie Garcia explains, some of those have decided to make Juarez their new home. And as we get closer to the 2020 presidential election, Latino voters could likely be key in determining the outcome of that race. Now, as Luis Mejia explains, early numbers are already suggesting that there could be a significant spike in Latino voters' turnouts at the polls nationwide. And after the break, welcome back to Unews. I'm Maity Interiano. Mexican actor Pablo Lyle is charged with manslaughter after fatally punching a driver during a road rage confrontation in Miami. Now he wants a judge to throw out the case under Florida's Stand Your Ground self-defense law. Carolina Rosario is outside the court in Miami with the latest. Carolina?
Hi, Maity. Good afternoon. Telenovela star Pablo Lyle arrived in court today surrounded by a lot of security and with his team of attorneys. And basically what happened today is that a case, if the defense can prove that, something that could be really hard if we put in mind the cases like Trayvon Martin's case. But let's see what happens. Maity, back to you.
Thank you, Carolina, for that report. A close call for dozens of foreign students visiting Boston when their boss caught fire and forced them to evacuate onto a busy highway. Tiffany Roberts has the story. But now to Las Vegas, where the police department there has released a new report about the Mandalay Bay mass shooting that took place in October 1st, 2017. That massacre, the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. 58 people were killed and more than 850 concertgoers were injured. As Jorge Hernandez explains, this report was more of a self-review by police on the challenges that arose with personnel, procedures, and equipment during the attack. The 158-page report does not draw any conclusions about the motive for the attack. Now to Florida, where a community is in shock after discovering several injured birds. Those animals apparently the victims of a paintball attack. Joanna Uzma has the details. Also in the Tampa Bay area, there's new video released in a shark dragging case, and we want to warn that for some of our viewers, they might find this video disturbing. After the break, an investigative developments in an international murder mystery involving an American scientist in Greece. Authorities there now believe she was the victim of foul play. Rafael Rodriguez has the latest. In South Korea, progress is being made in the fight for LGBTQ rights, but the military has been slow to catch up. Current law regards same-sex relations between soldiers as disgraceful conduct, but this is currently being challenged in two ongoing cases. Aranza Loizaga reports on how service members have been victimized. The Japanese spacecraft has completed a historic second landing on an asteroid and scooped up samples to bring back to Earth. Japan, when we come back, after some probably heard the warnings about the flesh-eating bacteria being present in warm waters. A Florida man's doctor says that's what he contracted. But here's the twist. The man wasn't on the beach. He says he was simply doing yard work at his house. Jania Ponte explains. Say and emphasize that if you think you could have the infection like this, go to the emergency room immediately, because the infection could severely be spread quickly and could cost you death if not treated. When Unews returns, the U.S. will... After enormous celebration, the World Cup champions keep going, flying to LA for the ESPYs, and they made it in time to win some of the night's biggest awards. Miriam Arias has all the details.
So there were definitely some emotional, inspiring, and lighthearted moments. I have to say that one of my favorites came from USA team's Alex Morgan accepting her second best award of the week. It was a pretty funny moment. Now, of course, this team continues to make headlines, and not just in terms of kicks, wins, and awards, but on the ongoing issue of equal pay.
That's right. And what is the latest on that issue, Miguel?
Yeah, so it's something we're still talking about. Now, some critics argue that men's teams earn more than women's because they generate more revenue. Now, an interesting fact, a financial report from the U.S. Soccer Federation found that the U.S. national women's team generated a bit more total revenue than the men's national team from 2016 to 2018. Now, we're talking about almost $51 million for the women compared to almost $50 million for the men's team. So it poses a new question, I think.
Totally.
Definitely. But I have another story for you.
All right, let's hear it.
Now let's talk about another athlete who is using her public voice to talk about important issues. We're talking another tennis player. Of course, it's Serena Williams. Now she will feature the August cover of Harper's.
Exactly. Did she say about the struggles she had to overcome all these differences and opposes?
Yeah, definitely. So, she talks about body shaming, but also about the fact that when she was a teen, she was booed by an entire stadium. She also says that she was paid unequally because she's a woman, and ultimately just mentions all of the different times that she experienced sexism throughout her life. Now, even though she's gone through all of this, she assures the world and her fans that she's never going to stop raising her voice to fight injustice.
And fighting and playing great in that court. And I think motherhood served her well. Now she's speaking openly about so many other things. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm Maity Interiano, and we'll see you tomorrow, viernes. Hasta mañana.